All right. Sorry about that. I'm live now. Always have trouble setting it up at first because the issues with going live on YouTube are kind of different. It's not really issues. It's just getting it all set up because it won't save certain settings to like have it stored. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I mean, I've done it my third time now, and yeah. But if you're tuning in, thanks. I just tweeted it, so it's the same Twitter name, Davis AK Drip. If you're subscribing to me on Twitter, you're able to find me here on YouTube. I only do this a few times, but yeah, I mean, I watched Worlds End last night, like most of us did, and had some thoughts to say, obviously. So yeah, I'm gonna give myself 30 seconds for getting into the show and all that because there was a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about, and if you see me looking at my phone, it's making sure everything's going good, and I got the card and all the info to look at in case I have anything important I need to bring up from that in terms of time and all that nonsense. But yeah, cage match already has that a 5.4. I mean, cage match ratings are what they are. It's not. It's like IMDb ratings or Rotten Tomato ratings. It's the consensus won't always get it right, but that's funny that instantly they have it as a 5.4. So I'm gonna get into it. So World's End was not the way AEW wanted to go out in 2023. You can tell. Obviously, the way the day started with the Jericho scandal in terms of Kylie Ray's. It's not even accusations yet because she hasn't stepped forward and said anything. But the unsourced rumors, as Tony Khan said in the scrum, is what kicked off the day, and there seems to be a lot of truth to it in terms of her liking some tweets, even though Nick Hausman didn't want to report on the story. And this is when I get mad where journalists don't want to be journalists, but it started off the day on a weird note. And MJF the day before kicked it off too with his No One's Hot Forever story in the Players Tribune. And he really tried to make himself, again, the hero in a lot of his stories based on how he's been treated or viewed publicly by fans, the media, and all that, when really he's his own worst enemy for a number of reasons. He tries to say it's him being Jewish is why people don't like him as champion, where he's the only one who ever really brings that up. I've never seen anyone bring that up in terms of why they don't like MJF or why they don't like MJF as champion. Again, that's my Twitter feed. That's my view of things. He probably sees a lot worse of that than I do in terms of on his side versus my side, but still, he tries to put it out there to control his narrative about why things aren't going well for him when really he's an asshole. Let's not forget he threw water or whatever it was onto a child unprovoked. Again, that kid did nothing. It wasn't part of the show or anything like that. And every other thing, the way he wants to leave and is holding the company hostage. And last night goes to show that maybe he won't be holding this company hostage anymore, thankfully, but there's still a lot in this company that needs to be fixed, needs to be righted. And I've spoken a number of times that Tony Khan's not the right guy to do all this by himself. And who knows who else is putting input in. I mean, there's the whole Jimmy Jacobs stuff, and he had said Jerry Lynn and Stokely were supposed to be doing creative for ROH. I can't tell what's real and what's not these days in terms of the reports on who's doing what backstage. The Bucks and Omega, if they still have any say. Jericho obviously seems like he had a lot of say in his stories, and that's why they suck, just like Cody did when he was there. But to start it off with the MJF Samoa Joe main event, and Samoa Joe winning goes to show that this company is now in a desperate spot. And not desperate because they have to keep up with what the company, on the other side is doing. They're just desperate to find change and to create a different environment. And Samoa Joe's champion is cool, but not really at the same time. I mean, I love Samoa Joe. He's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, but this is not the Samoa Joe we need as champion going into 2024. at his age with his history of injuries and a potential list of challengers for him creates a lot of uninteresting matchups, in my opinion. Like, so does he face Mox? Does he face Danielson? Does he face, Swerve? I mean, it's a lot of like, I guess that works. Jay White. This is why Jay White winning at Full Gear, I'm not just saying as a Jay White fan, would have been the move, would have made sense. Because it's a younger guy, it's a guy with a brighter future and kind of, a better heel in a way to create storylines and carry them like he was carrying MJF throughout this. And I know in the past I've said Jay White's going to be the guy to take the international title off of Orange Cassidy. They've kind of had this small interaction, which then leads to a story down the road because that's Tony Khan's booking. That's AEW storytelling right there. Is a small interaction creates a bigger story later on. But for Samoa Joe to win and MJF to be betrayed by Adam Cole revealing himself as the devil, assisted by Roddy Strong, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, and then worst of all, Wardlow. And this is why I was telling Banks last night when he and I were talking on the phone just about the state of AEW, is that Wardlow playing a part in this story is so fucking stupid. It doesn't make any sense at all. Because why would Wardlow assist in Samoa Joe becoming champion and not himself when all these promos in the last 2 months since Wardlow's been back is he's coming back to take everything from MJF, just like Max took everything from him. And he does that by giving the title to the guy that he was feuding with for months on end. It doesn't make any sense to me. This is the ass backwards booking of Tony Khan. Again, I've said it numerous times. Tony Khan can't book for shit. He's a terrible booker. He's a matchmaker. On any given night, Tony Khan can give you a match, an amazing match, with the tools at his disposal. But you give him a story to tell, he can't do it. And that's because he picks the wrong people for the wrong stories. And he allows certain stories to go on way too long. When I talk about Edge, Adam Copeland, and Christian Cage, that's another story that doesn't need to go on with this extra kill switch element. But back to the main event. So that's what I'm disappointed in, is that Wardlow doesn't even get his chance to take the title from MJF. It just goes straight to Samoa Joe. And does that mean MJF is going to feud with Wardlow without the title? And a lot of people are saying this Adam Cole, the Devil MJF story doesn't need the title. Yeah, a lot of stories don't need titles. The whole Adam Copeland Christian Cage story didn't need the title. That's what I was saying on Geeks' show, is that it's a story, or is what I was saying her in private at least. It's like that was a blood feud story that had a title up for grabs for the reason that one guy was champion, and that was it. And we're in the state of AEW where the titles don't matter right now. A lot of the titles don't matter. Big Bill and Ricky Starks apparently have been champs for 12 weeks. And I'm like, I posted the Rajon Rondo stat sheet meme where he's just looking at like in disbelief, because I'm like, has it been 12 weeks already? Because this reign, and it's not their fault, has been unmemorable. I wholeheartedly believe that FTR cursed those titles, like Samuel Guevara cursed the TNT title. And yeah, they put two guys together who didn't need to go together. And I love Ricky Starks, and I like Big Bill. And the fit just didn't make sense, especially at the scrum when he said he didn't know Lexi Nair and Big Bill were engaged. And that's the thing where it's like, well, yeah, you're not really supposed to be, not all tag team partners are supposed to be buddy, best friends like that. But it's just one of those weird things where, I don't know. Ricky Starks, obviously, you could tell he was tuned out during his match. Rightfully so, given it wasn't a match focused on the talent. It was a match focused on the drama of one person involved. And people are right to point out, too, that Darby Allin really has no right to say what he said about Jericho, given his history. I'm someone who likes Darby Allin a lot, but he had his similar accusations years ago, like Jericho's having right now. So a lot of people are saying the irony, pot calling the kettle black, rightfully so. But Ricky Starks and Big Bill are the ones being hindered, and people will say, yeah, they got dealt a bad hand with the Kenny Omega injury. Had Kenny Omega been healthy, and this Jericho story still comes out, that's still damning for Kenny Omega. The whole thing would have been just to abandon Jericho in the match, and you could have done that by saying the Callis family attacked him right before the show, right when they got to the arena, and now it's just going to be a 6-man tag, or instead it's going to be Sting and Darby Allin versus Big Bill and Starks. But no, I mean, this is what I mean, where Tony Khan gets in his own head about booking, and he makes Sammy Guevara a babyface this week. And I already tweeted this. This is how you know he's a horrible booker, because he can't understand that this guy is not someone to root for. Ever. Over the course of 5 years of AEW, this guy has never once been someone to root for. Just like MJF, and that's why I'm getting back to this point where now we're going to go forward with MJF versus Adam Cole, and MJF is once again this babyface, but the whole time this story was going on, he was a babyface because of Adam Cole. People were cheering MJF just like they're cheering Swerve, just like they cheer all heels in wrestling, just like they cheer Roman Reigns. It's the thing to do. There are no clear sides on who and who not to cheer for. Because people are going to boo people who have outside shit going on, like I've been saying. People are going to cheer the characters they like, whether they're the heel in the story or the face in the story. And MJF versus Adam Cole, like, no one's going to want to cheer for MJF over Adam Cole. I believe that. I'm not just saying that someone who prefers Adam Cole way more than MJF, but it's like the context of the story is going to be what? Adam Cole made this guy likable, made this guy a good person, and he lost their match, and that's going to be the whole reason of why he came up with this convoluted plan with devil masks and bullshit, and that's why he attacked Jay White, that's why he attacked Adam Page, that's why he attacked the Acclaim. It's just, it doesn't make sense in terms of a fan standpoint, not a storytelling standpoint. The storytelling standpoint, it didn't make sense when this whole thing continued to go on after the Adam Cole injury. And now we're left with Samoa Joe as champion and MJF as a babyface having a fight for the greater good when he's not even the greater good. Again, the guy calling himself the scumbag. It's, you're not the hero in the story. It's one of the biggest flaws of this past year with him as champion. It's that, look at the first 6 months of the year when he forced Bryan Danielson to go through the gauntlet of challengers to get to the title, and then how he, survived an Iron Man match against him, and then how he beat the Four Pillars, and how, again, it was the same story with Sammy Guevara that he later told with Adam Cole, two guys who are forcing themselves to be friends and all that. Like, come on. That's why it wasn't good, the Brochachos thing. It's recycled from him and Sammy being best friends just so we could give Sammy the title shot. It was just a smaller scale version of that. And then Adam Cole took it up a level because it's Adam Cole, and people were happy Adam Cole was back. And there were some of those skits that worked and some of them that didn't at all. And the matches really never worked because Adam Cole was getting his legs back, and MJF wants to wrestle like Hulk Hogan in 1987. And that's why we got shitty tag matches built around basic hype up the crowd spots. So to say that last night was a success in terms of getting the belt off at MJF, I don't know. Because at some point I was thinking, like, well, MJF beats Samoa Joe and retains, what do they do next? Who's going to be the devil? Jack Perry not being the devil, I'm not angry by that. I didn't think Jack Perry would have worked as the devil as well, because he can't talk yet. He's barely getting his feet wet as a heel. I mean, the second he comes back, he's going to get a big reaction and people are going to love him again. But that's going to do, that's going to be a detriment really to what he was doing prior to leaving, because he was the guy that sent CM Punk packing, backstage. But on screen, he was a guy fighting Hook and, shedding this persona of Jungle Boy, but now when he comes back, what's he going to do if he's not the devil? So that creates a whole thing in itself of that return. If it does happen, who knows what it'll be? But I imagine he'll still come back at some point. But yeah, we're just in a weird place where Tony Khan doesn't know what to do with his talent. And this is what I've always said, it's a new toy syndrome. He gets a new toy, he wants to play with it. That old toy gets discarded. And then when he gets tired of that new toy, he wants to bring that old toy back and then realizes how fun it is to play with again. And you can see Andrade got tired of that, and rightfully so, with Andrade wanting to leave. I mean, for what, the last 8 months? And that's why last night was just another, like, what the fuck, when it came to the booking of CJ Perry has to help Miro because Andrade is going to leave, so he won't be her client anymore. So they have to overbook for what happens behind the scenes because the storytelling on screen doesn't match. And obviously there's only so much you could do. Marvel faced this with Jonathan Majors as Kang this whole year and going into the future about what do they do with this character because the person playing the character won't be available anymore. But that's a whole nother story. But MJ, sorry, AEW has been in this spot a lot of times of backstage drama fucks the story. And this is when CM Punk came back, they dragged out this whole I'm the champion thing. And then by the time he announces himself as the real champion, he never lost the belt. He's fired 3 weeks later. And I keep just, I'm like, talking about all this just it makes my head hurt because it doesn't make sense for this guy to be this bad at booking. Like, you really just let the people do what they want to do. And I've often said the inmates run the asylum over there. You can tell Jay Cargill was famously doing that. Cody Rhodes was famously doing that. You can tell the Young Bucks were doing things like booking themselves to lose. Kenny Omega was booking himself to lose so they wouldn't have that heat. But then they had to book themselves to win. The whole time there's been examples of this. Chris Jericho famously is one like that. And I almost want to say Adam Copeland came to AEW just to get a title, but excuse me. But he lost that title 5 minutes later. So I was proven wrong there. I'll get to that in a minute. But I'm all over the place because this show was all over the place. If I really want to take it match by match, the pre-show was good with Statlander and Nightingale. I mean, Willow and Chris were showing out. Obviously, they had that botch at the end, but that's no one's fault. Willow Nightingale, I don't think is used to picking up a woman of Statlander's size for the gut wrench powerbomb, but it was still a solid match, and they're still the top three. Two of the top three. I mean, Tony Storm being the other, because Jamie Hayter's out, but Statlander and Nightingale still delivered, and the Stokely Hathaway story might be interesting in terms of if he's able to lure her over the dark side and manage her, or maybe the real twist is he lures Willow over and she becomes evil based on how she didn't turn with the Julia Hart mist. I can definitely see that happening as well because that's AEW booking is like, don't expect this basic swerve heel turn, expect this one, and all that. And then we had the Battle Royal, which we all wanted Lance Archer to win if you saw the timeline because he's a guy who's great in the ring. The character's meh. Just in terms of saying everybody dies on the Murder Rock Monster and Jake the Snake Roberts isn't a good look in 2024. I'm already getting my head of myself. If he comes back, that he'll still be the manager in 2024, but it's still not a good look to have him around. Not because anything Jake's done, just like it's like Jake, we don't need him as a manager anymore. That worked to get him over at the start. But we're way past that now. We don't need that anymore. Then that's you gotta, like a snake, shed that dead skin and move forward. And I know Alex Zane can't come over probably from New Japan or wherever else his indie dates are to become a full-time tag partner of Lance Archer, or maybe he can. Hopefully that does happen. because I think they would be a great addition to the tag team, which has been dealt the worst hand it's had in the last year, and that's a whole another conversation. Um, but regardless, this battle royal was built to, you know, build drama for the eventual TNT title match that night, and Kill Switch winning over Lance Archer was like, yeah, I get it. You know, it's one of those things where it's not like, oh, that who couldn't see that coming a lot of time, because that's AW's booking. It's when I get to the Continental Classic, it's like, well, I knew Moxley was going to win his. I mean, the Blue League was like Eddie Kingston, Danielson, or Claudio. Those were the three, but I knew like Moxley was going to win his because Jay White's not going to go be ROH champion. Swerve's not going to go be ROH champion. And the other three guys, sorry, they're not going to get any titles. But the Blue League had like, well, maybe it could be Claudio, Danielson, and Eddie. The only reason it probably wouldn't be Danielson, obviously, is that he has to do Wrestle Kingdom, so it'd be weird for him to get all these belts and then lose to Okada, because this is the time where Okada gets the win on January 4th. Because he won at Forbidden Door, it's time to do the 50-50 booking. I'd be surprised if Danielson were to win again against Okada, but that's besides the point. So yeah, just to say that the Battle Royal was predictable, and it was a lot of like, it was filled with a lot of tag team guys, and in terms of they all came in at the same time, it was just one of the worst Battle Royals we've had in a while too. I can't remember what Battle Royal was the one where I'm like, they gotta stop doing these Battle Royals. They've been so bad, they haven't worked at all. And the running gag, and it was so easy to make fun of, was that every AEW pay-per-view, a Battle Royal was announced, or every 6 weeks on TV, a Battle Royal was announced, and it was their break glass in case of emergency. But every 6 weeks there was an emergency. So there was that. Wheeler Yuta Hook, it was fine. Wheeler can't talk. I made this whole Dan Garcia joke that he can't talk. I think Eddie Kingston's overrated as a talker. But Wheeler Yuta is someone who can't talk at all. So his promo before the match was really bad, and it's good that Hook came out and interrupted him. But I don't know at this point with Hook. I'm a fan. I like his look. He has some good moves. The vignettes work, and that's the best thing about him, because yeah, he is weak as a talker as well, but he's a guy who doesn't need to speak on the mic. Again, it's that mystique, quiet, dangerous guy who doesn't say much. But going in at 2024, he's still not improving like I think we all think he should. And that's bad, because it shows AEW can't develop their young talent. It's bad because he's a guy who really should be being given bigger opportunities. And we all call for him to get independent dates to improve, and it doesn't happen, and who knows why that is. I don't know, and beating Wheeler Yuta doesn't really do much, again, because everyone beats Wheeler Yuta. That's why he's in the Black Bull Combat Club. We all make the same jokes. He's there to take the pin. And does that mean Hook should get a pure title shot? I would like to see something like that, where he's now able to challenge Wheeler Yuta in pure rules, and maybe that's the type of challenge he needs. But I don't know, 2024, as much as I was critical on Jade Cargill for not improving, I don't think Hook's improving. I said that at the start of 2023. I said, like, we got to stop giving this guy leeway. Like, show me something else. Show me you're improving. Because you have the look. The crowd loves you. You have to do the work, and the hard work, not just the squash matches. You got to do the 15 to 20-minute matches. You got to do the stuff to show this company is right and believing in you as someone who can be, a star player in the future. Just like they were doing with Jay Cargill, just like they were trying to do with some other young talent. You can see it with Top Flight now that they're all healthy again. Is hopefully 2024 is the year they get the tag titles, or at least the trios titles with Action Andretti. But regardless, some of these Sky Blue's another one. Julie Hart is the first one to get that young star push. And I'll talk to that in a minute with the Abaddon match. But yeah, 2024 has to be a year where Hook does way more than he did. You can't just skate by on being 60% of what you should be. So I don't have much to say on the 8-man tag match, which was, the all-star game of the Continental Classic. There are some good moments. It was just something to get all these guys on the card. It was probably the right match to open the card with. But Daniel Garcia getting the win again on Jay Lethal. So Jay Lethal lost every single match that was Continental Classic associated. And Daniel Garcia getting this win to hype him up. I'm just not a fan of this character. I barely thought he was good as the pure wrestler Daniel Garcia. There were a number of guys I would take over him in a young pure wrestler style. I think Lee Moriarty, Tyler Bate, people like that in the same age bracket, whose emphasis is wrestling first, character second. Yeah, Daniel Garcia he never does it for me, and I'd never see it at times on the mic, especially, which I made that joke before. But even in the ring, I'm like, there are guys who I think are better than him when it comes to wrestling. Even Wheeler Yuta, I would choose. That's why their feud made sense, besides the Blackpool Combat Club element of it all. That I would even take Wheeler Yuta over him in the pure wrestling sense. But him and this Matt Menard being his kind of coach, manager is just horrible. I get tired of Matt Menard's shtick every single week. But yeah, this match was just a solid opener to get everyone involved, and we'll see what they all do going forward. Like I said, I think Jay White takes the international title off of Orange Cassidy at some point. House of Black's in a weird spot, so maybe Brody King stays a singles wrestler. Bryan Danielson's gonna just have pure wrestling matches until he retires at the end of the summer. Claudio, Roosh, all these guys, they're just hanging around until something happens. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. And what was that? What was after that? Okay. Oh yeah, Miro Andrade. And I already spoke to Andrade wanting to leave and the messiness of the CJ Perry of it all. And I think we can all agree that CJ Perry and Miro just need to keep it at home or get divorced, or and I'm not saying for people get divorced, but just this messiness of this couple is really infuriating because she's not the star she thinks she is. He's not the star he thinks he is. And they just waste our time in two companies now with their marriage. I know that's the cruel thing to say, but it's true. I mean, again, people overrate that Miro title reign as TNT champion. It was a lot of squash matches, one match with Eddie Kingston, and then he dropped the title to Sammy. It wasn't some great title reign that people think it is in their minds. I don't know why. Just because he had the white strap on the belt, it's remembered fondly. And I'm like, this was not a good reign. He was squashing Lee Johnson. He was squashing other guys. He took the title off of Darby Allin, who was a real champion. And I don't know. And Miro going forward, who knows what he's going to do? There's speculation about him, but again, he's been in AEW, playing politics, not wanting to do certain things, and waste our time. And Andrade, who is someone who was being given a bad hand in AEW. I mean, I said this to Banks, he was butchered and botched in WWE because Vince McMahon wasn't a fan of the fact that he couldn't speak English well, or who knows what else. Which is why it's going to be funny when he comes back and everyone's on the hype train, because people who shitted on him for leaving WWE were happy to put Santos Escobar on the pedestal because he was someone who could speak English, and he's not the wrestler Andrade is. I think Santos Escobar is a poor imitation of a lot of luchadors at WWE failed to sign until they got Dragon Lee this year. But when they couldn't get Bandito, when they couldn't get Dragon Lee the first few times, when they couldn't get these other luchadors, the Lucha Bros, they signed Santos, and I'm like, you signed the guy in the C tier, and yeah, he can talk on the mic. He's got a good look because he took off the mask, but still, you're making it seem like you got a first round pick in the fifth round when you got the fifth round pick in the fifth round. It is what it is. So for Andrade to come back, everyone's going to do the flip like they would have done if Mercedes Moné came back as Sasha Banks. They would have taken back everything they said about her not showing up to work, her being selfish, her, it would have been amazing to see the 180s people did to put her back on the pedestal that they were so happy to take her down from, because that's what it is in 2023, 2024 fandom. If you're not on the side I like, it's fuck you. People think I'm anti CM Punk because he's not in AEW anymore. No, I didn't like what he was doing this time around in AEW in 2023. The stuff when he came back in 2021 going into 2022 made sense, but coming back and then teaming with FTR and then the Ricky Starks feud, and it wasn't clicking. The Samoa Joe feud was a little better, but it was still like, you have two stories you need to tell, and you can't tell them because the backstage politics of it all. You can't fight Kenny Omega and the Bucks because you fought him for real, and you can't fight MJF because that'll burn the company to the ground, and look what fucking happened now. And it was baffling to me because I said this on White Noise when I talked about CM Punk. I'm like, if he were to come back, there are two stories he needs to tell, and then he needs to get the fuck out. And that means out of wrestling or just out of AEW. I'm like, he needs to finish the MJF story, and then he needs to do the Kenny Omega Young Bucks story. So, but back to Andrade and Miro. And it was a bad match too. Andrade has been one of my favorite workers, and this match did not click. And that's because I think Miro too at times will not sandbag, but his heart won't be in it for certain matches, and you can tell maybe Andrade wasn't into this match at all, either given the fact that it was the last day on the job. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I ain't got to deal with this anymore, and rightfully so. I'm not mad that he's leaving. He wanted to go back. His wife works there. The guy who loved him, Triple H, is in charge, and will probably give him the opportunities he should have had in 2018, 2019. So we'll just have to wait and see. But people were trying to compare this to Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, WrestleMania 20. That would have been funny if it played out that way, but it wasn't that bad. Again, the crowd really just didn't care. The crowd should just care about how annoying CJ Perry is on the outside, and that I don't think that's going to get better anytime soon, because how are they going to fix that story? Is she now going to manage Miro just out of spite because he didn't want her managing anyone, and now he's going to let her manage him? But yeah, I don't get it. Tony Storm Riho was good. I'm not going to say too much on this, but they were just working, and this was probably the better match. It's slightly better than Willow Statlander. But what to do with Tony Storm going forward is going to be interesting. If Jamie Hayter's not back, because they're not going to rush into the Mariah May thing. I think that's the one story they have to have patience with. All the other stories they gave way too much time to, in terms of weeks and months dragging stories out. But this Mariah May story is the one that needs, to be watered like a plant, daily, weekly, monthly, not too long either, but hopefully by the time Revolution comes around, we'll maybe start to see the cracks in it to where Double or Nothing, it comes to that boiling point. But I'm glad to see Riho back. I always liked Riho just because her look and the style she wrestles with, her look has always been interesting to me. And it was a solid match. Tony Storm is not going to lose this title anytime soon. I may be worried if they go straight to Thunder Rosa versus Tony Storm. They were called Thunderstorm. So that's the thing. I'm worried about that coming up if just with me not being a fan of Thunder Rosa, and who knows if she's ready to get back into it right away. Serena Deeb came back. That was a vignette that was aired last night. And again, I don't know if you rush into Serena Deeb versus Tony Storm, just because that's kind of two heels, or heel like characters. Tony Storm is a likable heel. This is what I've seen earlier. And Serena Deeb again is just a heel because the way she wrestles. So maybe that's the match we'll get next. Because Serena Deeb, Julia Hart doesn't make sense. Willow and Chris Statlander are in this interesting point where it's kind of like a wait and see. Just like I said, one of them might be the heel going forward. Hopefully, Jamie Hayter is able to come back within the next 3 months and be another savior to this women's division that kind of needs it. Unless the Mercedes Moné rumors turn out to be true and she is coming to AEW, which that would do wonders for AEW as a whole, not just the women's division, but we'll just have to wait and see. But like I said, it was a solid match. I enjoy the timeless Tony Storm act in the ring and on the mic. And the spots with Luther was good. Swerve Strickland versus Dustin Rhodes. This is a match we just did not need. And I'm not saying that for my Swerve hate. It's just we don't need Dustin Rhodes wrestling on a pay-per-view in 2023. He doesn't need a 9-minute match when his brother's not in the company. I know it's the whole him and Keith Lee are tag partners, so he's filling in for Keith Lee. We don't need that. That's not the type of bullshit we need. You got to take 9 minutes out of the show, giving it to something else. Or he could have just squashed Dustin Rhodes. Swerve could have just beat his ass in 30 minutes, and that could have been that. That would have been more devastating than making a match out of it. Maybe it was. I tuned out during that match, like I tuned out during a lot of his matches. And the fact that Keith Lee's not able to come back due to his health, we're in a weird spot where that match was supposed to blow off this feud so Swerve can go off and do whatever Tony Khan has planned for him. And it's not going to happen now, where it's either just going to be a story of a loose end or what. But I don't want to spend too much time on that because it just frankly wasn't worth it. The 8-man tag, which I spoke on, was just mired in the Chris Jericho hatred. And it sucks because Darby Allin and Takeshita had some great moments in this match. A one-on-one match with them would have been better than what we got. Again, Tony Khan called the audible, say Jericho can't make it. And Sammy Guevara is still not cleared. So turn it into like Darby Allin takes on Takeshita or takes on someone else. But there's not much here. Hopefully, let me just see this real quick about Ricky Starks and Big Bill. Because again, like I said, 12 weeks. I want to know just how many defenses of the titles they've made. Because I'm like, is it 3 championship defenses? I can't tell. So yeah, it's the tag team title went over FTR. It's the title defense against Wheeler and Claudio, and then it was the 4-way ladder match win. Those are their 3 matches with the tag titles. 2 defenses and 1 win. So thanks a lot, FTR. You fucked us. Yeah. Julia Hart, Abaddon. You could see both of these women weren't ready for this moment. And it's funny, Tony Schiavone said it best. He said Julia Hart is showing she's just more than an entrance. She has to show she can do it in the ring. And I'm like, that's funny because that's literally the premise of this match is characters, entrances, crowd is behind you. Can you deliver in the ring? And they did not deliver for me. Abaddon's already someone that has moments of, ooh, that didn't look good. And then, oh, that was impressive. And Julia Hart, with the right opponent, looks really good. But it wasn't a match that was clicking. And it sucks to see. And she messed up on the finish with the moonsault. And Sky Blue Julia Hart and Julia Hart taking the title. I mean, Sky Blue taking the title from Julia Hart's going to be the move. And rightfully so, because Sky Blue's the better wrestler has been the better wrestler and is now becoming the better character slowly, which was the point of that storyline of Herbie Kadeem Misted. Basically kind of taking Julia Hart's aura from her would be interesting in that aspect. But as a whole, this match did not work. But the crowd was trying to get into it again. Like, this is spooky, and that's also the part of wrestling. Is if the product's not going to be good in the ring, at least the crowd is buying it because of the extra elements. But this was just not for me. And the Julia Hart thing, I don't want to say it has a shelf life, but it definitely has like all right, what's next after this? Because again, Sky Blue helping her at some point, that's going to rear its head like every other fucking story in AEW where people are together. And then boom, it's a heel turn, it's a betrayal, all that shit. So Adam Copeland, Christian Cage, God, like I was saying, for this match to be the quote-unquote savior of the show is a bad example. I told this to Banks that when these guys who are approaching their 50s or are in their 50s, I think, are the savior of the show, you know you're in a bad place. And this is the WWE of it all, that you have to rely on the vets, the talent of yesteryear to carry the show or to be the important part of the show. It just speaks on how bad the rest of the people are. And this match had some moments, even though it had a lot of weak moments too. And Christian is great at being a heel. Adam Copeland, Edge is, I've been saying it for the last 3 years. It is what it is with him. He can't go in a ring bell to bell. He has to use the smoke and mirrors, the stipulation matches to get people behind it and to say it's good and to say it's entertaining. And the botched fire table in which he couldn't even put Nick Wayne through it. It was good because it was better than everything that was coming before it, but it was still not a good match in my opinion. Just because it's good in comparison to what's been going on doesn't mean it's still good. That whole chicken salad, chicken shit thing where it's like, well, everything's been chicken shit, then obviously something's going to look like chicken salad. Like, I don't know. But, and then at the end when he wins the title just to lose the title again, that's even worse of a booking decision compared to MJF and the Devil, is that Kill Switch is still under Christian Cage, his spell or his thumb to be beholden to him and give him everything he asked for. And is Kill Switch going to be the one to take the TNT title from Christian? Like, who? No, we don't want that. We don't need that. It's just because it works as a story in terms of like it's a start and an end point doesn't mean it's going to work. This is what I mean when stories don't work. It's because it looks good on paper, but it doesn't look good in execution. Because as a fan, I'm seeing what's already been laid out, and it doesn't make sense. Yeah, it might make sense on paper, but why would I root for this? Why would I watch this again? And Luchasaurus Killswitch isn't someone who's able to carry a title, isn't able to carry a story, and and the TNT title was a random, it was a title that was meant to be the open challenge title, and now that's the international title, and that's been pressed pause because Orange Cassidy needs the rest, and he needs, he's slowly doing what he was doing before, and he was just handing out challenges to Rocky Romero, Dante Martin last night, which I'm looking forward to a lot. But the TNT title it's middling. It doesn't hold any weight anymore. Darby Allin had it for those 5 weeks, and it meant something again because again it was an open challenge title. But Samoa Joe had it. It didn't mean shit. Wardlow had it. It didn't mean shit. Sammy Guevara and Scorpio Sky traded it back and forth, and it didn't mean shit. It's an afterthought now, and this is not because Christian Cage refuses to do the open challenges bullshit. It's trapped in a story. It's a story title now, and that's why it holds no weight in my opinion. And I don't know what to think about Christian Cage being champion going forward, if it's just going to be for Killswitch to take the title off of him, because that's not what we need. That's not what we want. And then for Jack Perry to come back and take it off of Christian is just not like, I thought we ended this story already. We're supposed to be in a new story, and then That's not a good look because you're relying on the one story you can tell, which is Jack Perry and Christian. Like we finished that story last year and we finished it at the top of 2023. Like, come on, let's not play dumb with our stories and stop waste. Like he says in like Al Pacino says, and he don't waste my motherfucking time. That's what AEW does. It's wasting my motherfucking time with this nonsense. And Eddie Kingston Mox in the Continental Classic, like I said, when you saw the Continental Classic playing out the way it was for the last few weeks of, I didn't expect the three-way the three-way match to play, to be a factor, but it made sense that Swerve beats Jay White, Mox beats Swerve, Jay White beats Mox, so these guys each take a fall to each other. One guy can beat one guy, but he can't beat the other guy. That made sense. And then Mox beats Jay White because he beat Swerve, so now he's beating both guys, so he clearly wins his league. That was, smart sports booking. That's what Tony Khan can do. Like I said, he can build a match. He can build a match like a sport. He can't build a match he can't build a match if it has to have a story or a opera behind it. He can't do that. And like I said, A. Kingston with his come from behind underdog story in the league worked. It was a fine match. I mean, they wanted to have that real hard hitting kind of MMA influence style. And it worked at times during the match. And it just had that abrupt ending to me that I was like, oh, okay, because he hit him with the spinning backhand, and I was like, he's not even going to try to pick him up and do the power bomb and kind of really stamp this match out like that. But it was fine for what it was. I mean, the Continental Classic has been the focus of the company. That's why everything else has been taking a backseat. That's why, like I said, the tag titles don't matter. The trios titles don't matter. Because we have to put focus on the Continental Classic because it's so easy to book. And that's that. And now that it's over, what are they going to do? Again, this Triple Crown thing, it's just a way to show Eddie Kingston's important because he's not going to get that main title. I don't know, him taking the title off of MJF, I think would have made a lot more sense to Samoa Joe, to be honest. But it's them giving Eddie Kingston props, acknowledging his hard work, his dedication to the company, his dedication to wrestling, and that was good to see. And Mox is someone who, again, who can look good beating people and can look good losing to people. So it was the right move to do it the way they did. I mean, for people to say the Continental Classic didn't set up anyone, it's setting up Dan Garcia for the run he's about to go on now. Like I said, Swerve, Jay White are going to move on to other things, better things. Everyone else is in the wait and see. Mark Briscoe, Jay Lethal might have something going on. But Claudio and Roosh, Brody King, those are the question marks. And Mox, what he's going to do going forward, same thing. Like I said, maybe it could be Samoa Joe. That would be interesting to see. But overall, who knows? But if Eddie Kingston defends all these titles, two of which are to other companies, even though one's an AEW sibling company, but still, it's like, okay, yeah. And that's just in the spot AEW's in. Like, yeah, what's gonna happen now? I know I'm kind of just rambling all over the place. So I'm about to end this right now, but I just had some thoughts I wanted to share and just talk about the show. I don't know if it's the worst AEW pay-per-view. I know it's not it's the worst of this year, but all time, I don't know. I bought that first Double or Nothing. I instantly wanted my $50 back once it was over. I don't know if this is that, but this was not good. And it's, I think, foreboding about what's going to happen in 2024. I don't think things are going to look good coming up. That's me being more pessimistic because I am a pessimist compared to an optimist. And famously in 2020, Banks and I said that this company was going to end in 2024. I don't want to say that looks like it's a possibility, but it looks interesting compared to everything else going on with people wanting to leave now more than ever. The ratings being worse now more than ever. the booking looking worse now more than ever. It's all not sky is falling, but maybe this is the signs are there that you can't turn this around. But yeah, so thanks for tuning in. I gotta go watch this 49ers game against the Commanders. Oh god, that Ravens game. That was a shitty way to spend Christmas watching that game. I think Brock Purdy will rebound this week and next week. But again, it's one of those things. We can beat the Eagles, we can beat the Cowboys, we can't beat the Ravens. So, and the Ravens lost to the Browns. We lost to the Browns. Football again, any given Sunday. That was a Monday game, but any given Sunday, anyone can win. All of that. But thanks for tuning in. Maybe I'll go live again because I want to talk about some movies for 2024. I want to talk about my favorite movies and shows of 2023. I don't know if that'll be today, but it'll definitely be tomorrow. So I thought about probably doing 2 shows today, just in terms of getting these things off my mind. I'm kind of a little tired just because it's been a long week, long year, even though it's been the holiday season, and I've been having tomorrow off. I had Monday off, but yeah, it's also kind of weird just talking. Like I'm a little thirsty, so thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, all of that. Yeah, so I appreciate it very much. Thank you.